Welcome to this presentation on multimodal conversational interfaces, how we enable paradigm shift in conversational experience. So we are from E.ON, and for those of you who don't know what E.ON is one of the six largest energy companies in the world, and we are the revenues are around 80 billion and with around 70,000 plus employees, and we have presence in more than 30 plus countries. Yeah, so this is a short introduction about myself. So I work as a senior program manager and analytics lead at E.ON. And prior to E.ON, I was working with Cognizant as a conversational AI lead for the German geography. I also have my colleague Arbnor with me. Arbnor, if I may request you to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I hope also you had a good lunch. My name is Arbnor Feka, and I'm currently delivery manager at E.ON ADT or AD Technology. I started as a business consultant up to pre-sales and now managing strategic projects in conversational AI. Thank you.
Thank you, Arbnor. So this is broadly the agenda that we will follow for the next 30 minutes or so. So first we begin about what multimodality is all about, and we give some examples because multimodality is all about experience, right? So I'm not going to bore you with a lot of text, but with some nice cool examples. And next we look into the key concepts governing multimodal experiences. So what are the building blocks and what is the typical architecture when we build a multimodal solution, etc. And then E.ON's journey, where we were yesterday and what are we doing today and what are our plans for tomorrow. So this is the broad agenda that we will be following. So first let's get some basics right. So multimodal conversational AI is the art and science of enabling all customers to communicate with a digital assistant in their modality of choice. Now let's try to understand this with an example. In case if I want to communicate with fellow humans, right? If I want to talk to Arbnor, I can either write to him or talk to him, or I can show some gestures and make him understand. But unfortunately, the limitations that we have while communicating with the digital assistant is that we are always limited by the modality that digital assistant supports. And this is exactly what multimodal conversational AI tries to do. It tries to break that barrier. And according to Gartner, multimodal interactions will be a standard feature in all the virtual assistants. Now, I'm not talking about chatbots or voice bots, but virtual assistants. What are they? We will look into it later in the story. But currently, they are just about 2%. So you can understand the kind of adoption that's going to come its way in the next few years. Now let's try to step back and see the evolution of how our journey with interacting with the virtual assistants took place, right? So in the late 70s, technology constraints defined the interactions, but then a lot of developments took place from machine controls to graphical user interface, multiple devices, and today we are at a stage where our human possibilities. Richard from Mercedes spoke about the metaverse. So the human possibilities of interactions are going to kind of command the things in the future. Multimodality is better understood with examples. So I'm going to basically show you two cool examples. One is from Amazon Alexa. I'm sure all of us would have an Amazon Echo or Amazon Show kind of device at our home. So the modalities that we are going to see here is voice, text, and graphical user interface. Now let's look into this multimodal example from Amazon.
When I first got Alexa, I could imagine all kinds of possibilities for what it could do. I just wanted a skill that could give me just the information I needed without giving a full weather report.
Alexa, ask Big Sky for the weather on Wednesday.
You can expect 62 degrees with...
Big Sky has the possibility of presenting a lot of information. The Alexa presentation language allows me to be able to adapt the amount of information and the kind of information that I'm giving to the customer. With APL, the graphics can change depending on the device. It adds a whole new dimension to developing Alexa skills. It's a voice-first development experience, but then you also get to expand your vision by adding a lot more sort of customizable visuals. It's engaging in all kinds of modalities. It's sight, it's touch, it's voice. It really just expands the entire experience. I think there's a lot of possibilities in the future.
Now this is a cool presentation, right? So there are a lot of aspects that we can pick from this particular example, but let's take one example which the professor says you should have a voice first modality. which is augmented by the other different modalities. Let's take that point for now and we will revisit it in the key building block slide. Now the second example is a real cool example. So because this was from Meta or Facebook. So this was an idea presented by Mark Zuckerberg in his investor presentation conference early this year. And this takes the experience to the whole next level. It's not just about voice, gestures and immersive experience. It's a little long video for 2 minutes, but it's worthwhile to watch. Now this is the metaverse of Facebook, and on the right hand side you will see Mark Zuckerberg, and on the left hand side is his friend, and at the center you will find a conversational AI agent, which is more of a voice agent. And just by showing gestures and talking to this bot, Mark is going to now customize his metaverse world. Now this is the multimodality at the next level. Let's look into this example.
First, let's start with the scene. Let's go to a park. Actually, let's go to the beach. Pretty good. Let's add some clouds. Huh, that's all AI generated. Actually, let's add some alto cumulus clouds. All right, and let's add an island over there.
It's cool. How about we add some trees out here by the sand? Let's get a picnic blanket down here. Let's put up a table. Let's put a stereo. Let's get some drinks as well. Let's get the sound of some waves and seagulls.
Does that speaker work? Let's play some tropical music. And let's add a hydrofoil. You gotta have a hydrofoil.
You gotta teach me how to ride one in VR.
Now this may seem like a scientific fiction movie, right? But as we saw from BMW, and also we were at Microsoft Munich early this year, where we were trying to do a POC as to how we can bring in metaverse and conversational AI together. And I would proudly say that these kind of experiences are definitely coming in the near future, maybe in a couple of years or so. Now that we have understood some basics of multimodalities and what is that we are currently experiencing and what probably we will experience something in the future, let's see what are the technology trends that are driving towards the multimodal world, right? So as we saw, things like smart speaker adoption, digital assistants, immersive experiences, AR, VR, all these aspects are driving the world towards multimodal experiences, which are engaging, intuitive, and immersive in nature. Let's look into the key building blocks. Now this is a little critical slide because this is what defines the entire solution per se. First, let's look into the design considerations. So we need to always have a right mix of voice, text and UI components, because here we are talking about the different modalities. So you need to kind of mix the right kind of aspects. Next, good to have a voice first approach. Now I would like to recollect what the professor in the first video from Amazon was talking about, right? So why does he say go for a voice first approach? And we also follow the same approach because voice first is much prone for error. What do I mean is, when you have more than one modality, say you have voice and you have a graphical user interface that augments the voice, things become much more easier. But consider only when you don't have any kind of GUI and just have a voice, things may get little challenging. That's why it's important that you start your journey with the voice first approach and then augment it with other different modalities. Finally, contextualization to environment. Now the best part about multimodal conversational interfaces is that it helps you to have purpose-led interactions. What I mean by purpose-led interactions: say in case you are driving a car and you want to perform a use case, the preferred modality would be obviously voice, right? Because you don't want to type something while driving a car. The same use case, if you have to handle it while you're in office, would be text. The same use case in an immersive environment would be different. So that's why multimodal conversational interfaces enable you to develop contextual specific experiences. Next is rich in intelligence. The problem with today bots, because we must have seen a lot of memes about bots, right? That the bot is really stupid, it's not able to understand things. That's because most of the bots stores the data as information and not as knowledge. Now, what do I mean by this? Let's try to see this with an example. Let's try to understand a scenario. Peter was born in Düsseldorf. Düsseldorf is the capital of NRW region, and River Rhine flows through Düsseldorf. Now, when you model it in the current bots, right, in the current NLUs, the way it is stored it is in a linear fashion, meaning like there is all of these things are modeled as separate entities without any connection with them. The problem with this kind of approach is when you have a question from a user that has got multiple intents or multiple intentions. For example, what is the name of the river that flows through the city where Peter was born? In this kind of scenario, the bot will break because there are multiple questions, right? We are talking about city, we are talking about the river, and we are talking about the person Peter. So how do we solve this problem? That's why we have knowledge graphs. Now, in knowledge graphs, all the data is stored in the form of edges, nodes, and relationships between them. So basically, Peter, the relationship was with Düsseldorf was born in. Düsseldorf's relationship with NRW region is the capital of that region. Similarly, River Rhine's relationship with Düsseldorf is that it flows through it. So in this scenario, when you ask a question, what is the name of the river that flows through the city where Peter was born? You will have the right answer. So it's super critical that you engineer the right kind of digital assistance using the right kind of intelligence. Simple NLU model with just intent training will not cut the equation for you. And finally, one more aspect in the intelligence is stateful interactions. Arbnor will be talking about it in his presentation in detail. But long story short, when you're talking about digital assistance, right, it needs to maintain the state across channels and across modalities. So that's a super critical feature that is required. Finally, coming to bot community, it's a Alexa inspired skill based approach towards bot building. What do I mean by this? Say in case there is a change master data use case for E.ON DE, and if our sister company is going to have a similar use case, then they need not build it ground up but just call this as a skill. So this enables uniform customer experience across different environments and also greater reusability. Now, at a high level, I know the crowd here is okay. There's no more crowd. There are only people here. So, I know the focus group here is more of business folks. So we are keeping it at a logical level and not at a technological level. So basically, there are 4 key components in a multimodal conversational AI solution. One is the input, which is the different modalities of speech, text, and gestures. Next is the interaction manager that takes care of all the interaction aspects and also things like semantic parsing that can convert the user message into a format that is understandable by the system. And this is the key aspect, right? We have the knowledge engine, our very own knowledge graphs that we saw in the previous slides. That's the core component. And all these knowledge graphs or all the NLU models that you see today in the industry, they are all based on basic vanilla version, right? So you need to customize it to your environment. For instance, the kind of questions that comes to a Mercedes will be very different to what that comes to an E.ON. So you need to have this domain ontology mapping, which is very critical. Next is classification and entity extraction, because it's only using this that you can kind of extract the exact words or phrases from the user text. So this is the third component, which is more of the brain of the entire ecosystem. And finally, we have systems of execution. Because it's okay, you have a cool, knowledge engine and all the interaction managers, right? But it's very important that you have the right, armies of bots or API connections and backend applications to perform your executions. So that's why we have, this kind of a, setup where you have bots and other backend applications to execute your business process. And okay, we spoke about a lot of examples, a lot of technical jargons, etc. But all that matters is what it matters to the customers and how it really matters to the business, right? To the customers, we have covered these aspects in the overall journey. It's all about instinctive communication. It's just your natural way of communicating with your fellow humans. And the next one is purpose-led interactions. We spoke about it. You driving a car versus being at the work versus having an immersive experience for the same use case. How will you operate? In the current model, you will have to switch between different channels. But when you can have one bot core that can deliver you a uniform experience across channel, now that's a win-win for everybody. And let's look at for business. So this is uniform customer experience. We've been speaking about it at length. And next is repurpose content, because you build a conversational flow for one modality and then just reuse it across the other one. Obviously, knocking out whichever is not required. So you kind of repurpose the content, which enables you to go live to the market very faster. And ultimately, happy customers and optimized IT operations are increasing the top line and optimizing the bottom line. Now I would like to hand over the mic to Arbnor to take it further. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Satesh, for introducing us into the topic of multimodality. What I will present to you is what we did in E.ON so far in our journey and experience towards multimodality. So if I can collect back where we started, it started 2015 to 2017 when we introduced the first modality, text. First modality, text, started with live chat, followed by in-app messaging, and we built our first FAQ chatbot in 2017. We started our second modality as a POC by creating or implementing a voice assistant, where we were able to build a full-fledged voice bot in 2021, where we created on a new platform and new solutions for our internal clients. On the way back to 2021, we accelerated the chatbots, that we scaled them up. And in 2022, as Satesh already mentioned, we were invited by Microsoft to push the conversational AI into the metaverse, or push the chatbots, voice bots into the metaverse to gain then the immersive experience, and how the possibility is there to integrate the conversational AI into metaverse. Coming to one of my favorite slides, the key enablers. So all of those parts we already heard. I will just go through and explain based on what the example or the key enabler is to the example of E.ON. So our first key enabler is channel support. And here is the term multi-channel is important because you have multimodality as well as multi-channel. Why you should restrict as a business your client to one specific chat. Imagine in that case that you have you're talking to one chat on Microsoft Teams and not enabling even on having it on Slack or somewhere else. So it's not just important that you have the ability to connect on a wide range of channels to talk about text with Microsoft Teams or a web browser, or to have voice with the IVR, or to have gestures or immersive experience with the Holocaust or Oculus experience. When we come to the uniform bot core, the idea here is to repurpose across the channels. You create, as we already mentioned, one process, which can be like a first voice approach, and then divide it on the different across the channels. Meaning here, what purpose do I have to have the same process on voice and the same process on chat, which is going to be just slightly different. But the purpose here is for the customers is the uniform customer experience. So they have the same experience on the voice area as they have on the chat. For the business, it means a faster turnaround time, faster implementation, and it's taking less effort, and also the cost reduction, obviously. When we come off, one of my favorite parts is the context awareness. I have here a really good example that you're not just building simple chatbots or simple voice bots, but you're building an intelligent digital assistant, meaning like you are taking the context. If I can give an example, we have implemented in one of our voice bots a password reset. Because you locked off or locked your account on your Windows or Mac device, you can call the voice bot and set up based on your own experience the password to reset the account or the password without calling agents, which are costly in the end. The idea here is that if the backend system takes too long to reset your password, because just in that technology is that taking too much time, we have a callback feature implemented that you can have not just giving the information by the end, but you can continue seamlessly the conversation afterwards. And last but not least, on the way of multimodality is the bot community. As we already spoke about Alexa, I will not go into detail over there, but we also, a first of its kind solution implemented in E.ON, a bot-to-bot communication. And when I talk about the example here all the time, it's our voice bot, chatbot, Jane, sorry. Here, Jane started originally because it's a first voice approach as a voice bot, but we didn't just let them on the voice perspective of the voice modality. We implemented that also on the chat area. So Jane is a chat and voice bot, and what does she do? She's helping on the as an IT help desk bot for password reset, as I already mentioned, and also incident creation. I've put also the gestures because we are started in POC to push Jane also into the metaverse, but this started just recently. But I hope that this is going to be like the next step of Jane into the future. When I talk about the bot-to-bot community, this is our EKN, E.ON Kundennetz chatbot Betty, which is working as a corporate bot that uses Jane now as a first of its kind solution in E.ON, uses Jane for IT queries, IT help, like I said, password reset or incident creation. And if I may go on to the next slide, I don't want to marketing a lot about, but if I may just highlight 2 or 3 about that Jane this year won the award in the international business. And also our sister company Ascend won the best transactional chatbot. Transactional means like you can submit your meter reading or change fully automated your master data. And we as a central team are represented in most of our regional units or business units, like 15 currently and more to come. And in the industry, we have the automation rate about 60%, which is industry like really, really good. So I explained already where we came from, what we are currently doing. And based on this inspired BCG matrix, I'm going to tell you what's going to be the next step. So the complexity of content is from left to right, and the complexity of conversation is from bottom to top. So in the beginning, as I said, 2017, we started with a chatbot just by giving basic informations, like where can I find my bill, or just giving links, or then also routed to agents. So we were just an E.ON, let's say E.ON store for information, nothing else. So in the generic FAQ. Currently, we have merged into the personalized conversation area where you can submit your meter read, apply for a meter, or even can change every day your part payment you have to do. So the next step on our journey will be to merge it to the immersive metaverse shop. And yeah, that's basically it. I hope we could bring you the term of multimodality a bit closer. And I hope that you're going to stay for a round discussion table for questions. We are looking forward to see you there. Arbnor and Satesh from E.ON. Thank you very much.